Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast channel. My name is Jed. How are you going? We are exploring belief and seeing if we can understand what belief is and how it functions within our soul and also within our species. This specific belief that we are using as our launching pad happens to be one of the most common beliefs of our age, that everything is relative to personal opinion. Isn't everyone entitled to their own perspective? And isn't that just as true as anything else? Because if it seems true to you, then it is true. It's true to whoever... If it seems true, it is true to whomever it seems. Right? Isn't that what we tell people? We're all entitled to our own beliefs and opinions, and surely no harm can come from that. Not only can no harm come from that, it's kind of the standard of truth. Now, this particular belief, it's all relative, is the one used to justify the existence of belief as a ruling factor within society, within our soul. You can start groups based on belief. You can make up anything. Women are less than men, and that's true because we're going to make it a religion. We found an old text under a rock and says so, and if we believe it, it is so. This actor can become president because he believes he's a president. And isn't that just as true as anything else? And of course, for our souls, you can't reach your goals. You are incapable of understanding or reaching the highest reach of your mind and participating in intellect. You can't know the self. You can't remove the problems that you face because you're a small bean, you're a bad noodle, or because you have a false belief about, or you have a certain belief about yourself. So that's the big one for us. Can we understand the nature of self and reality, or is the best that we can have belief? In other words, the beliefs that we carry about ourselves, that we take for granted, that we listen to, that dictates the course of our life, do we need that? Or are they always bad? Because belief gets in the way of understanding. If our goal is to understand ourselves and reality, does belief function to support that or to block it? So that's the big one. We're learning about the belief in belief because it functions to block understanding. And understanding is what we need to do to understand and solve problems and understand, well, ourself and reality. Understand our highest goals and how to reach them with our highest excellence. So, we're at part 2. I'm going to change my hat. My hat's a bit damp. Hold. So we're at part 2 of the text, and part 1 ended with something that was entirely predictable for us because we have come to understand belief ourselves. So while belief can't predict the future, because belief is based on perception and perception is in the present, understanding what something is, how it functions, and how it concludes, which is of course the dialectic, allows us to anticipate the future. So in an entirely predictable way, the dialectic ended in the person who is driven by belief trying to start a fight. Because fighting is the last resort for those who are loyal to belief. Because belief can't function in the light of reason and understanding. So belief functions to sabotage the dialectic, sabotage reflection, sabotage reason, sabotage the approach of evidence and reason together. Fighting. So last time we were pointing to the fact that We don't have beliefs. Beliefs have us. Because we don't want conflict. We don't want ignorance. We don't want to be manipulated by those we believe. We want to understand. We want our highest goodness. We want to know the truth. We want unity within our soul, within our life, within our world. So all of these things that we want, we achieve through dianoia, understanding. Oneness, goodness, truth. We talked about last time how these are the words that describe the goal of understanding. Understanding brings things into a oneness. And of course, the peak of oneness is mind. Understanding through removing beliefs that block us and using that freedom to understand the source of understanding, intellect, opens us up to that peak experience of oneness. It's also truth because it's the truth of reality. They call it being, or it's called being, mind knowing itself. And it therefore bestows goodness to us. It is the model of beauty, justice, the excellence of mind, all of these terms, goodness. And of course, we pointed out last time the point that understanding can even be applied to that experience, and we can ask the same sorts of questions that led us from belief to understanding or to the experience of mind. We can ask the same sorts of questions about mind to move to the source of mind, the self. For it to have a oneness, a goodness, and truth, we would have to ask questions like, for there to be a oneness, must there first be a one as its cause? Must that be the good? Would that be the ultimate true principle of truth? So therefore, while philosophy is a love of that experience of mind called wisdom, philosophia, love of wisdom, philodianoia is the higher art that we are discovering is our purpose as human beings. Because understanding can even not only reach wisdom, but also be applied to beliefs to purify our false beliefs to get in the way. It's an extra thing. But also, we could apply understanding to ask those same sorts of questions to reach what is beyond even wisdom. Philodianoia. So, in the last couple of episodes, we've been practicing that very thing that is our purpose by understanding beliefs. By taking what is perception, our perception of the book, and doing an extra step, that is organizing the terms into a structure. The structure of the dialectic, which is understanding. So using just the things that have come to light from the book, from the dialogue between a dialectician and a believer, we came to realize that it's all relative belief, everything is relative to belief or perception, can't participate in universal principles, so therefore can't be true. We saw its, and the example, of course, well, if it seems true, then it is true. And if somebody comes along and says, well, it seems to me that that statement isn't true, are they allowed to say that? Nope. One rule for thee, one rule for me. Can't participate in universal principles. By the way, what convinced you that it was true? Well, it seemed to be true. So if it seems so, it is true. So if it seems so, it is so. What convinced you of that? Oh, because it seemed so, so therefore it was so. But why is that a standard? Oh, because if something seems so, see, it's circular. The Bible is true because the Bible tells me it's true. So these are two stages of dialectic. By definition, we can see that it can't participate in universal principles, and when you're defining something, you could talk about the thing itself or its causes or preconditions or principles that are necessary for that thing to be. It's a higher understanding of the definition stage of the dialectic. But it also gives us standards for testing the truth of something. And of course, this is what we are looking for when we want to judge politicians and religious officials and things, because they always contradict themselves. We don't like hypocrisy. Oh, guns are bad. Oh, but not in your gated community. Sorry, guns are good at schools or whatever, but not in your gated community. Law is important, but not for the politicians. They can break the law whenever they want. Terrorism is bad, except for when we do it, when we triple tap an Iranian girls' school. For the fun and profit of the Epstein-class billionaires who are the politicians and religious and capitalist officials who claim their rulership via belief, not through any expertise or understanding of what is good for the health, development, and growth of the soul, and how to align the conditions of society in alignment with the logos, the principles of reality, to facilitate that development. Because war, that they like to do for fun and profit, is the abandonment of reason and intelligibility. So it's circular. Another way of seeing if something is true is to divide it up, push the implications of that functioning. Hey, if everything is a matter of perception, and it looks like people shrink when they walk away, then that's true. And you can have fun with that. That's pushing the absurdities. You're pushing the implications to see the absurdities that result. And in conclusion, as we mentioned already today, if it's all perception and perception is in the present, you can't predict the future, which is needed for expertise. So there's no expertise, meaning you can't predict any dangers or catastrophes that may result. So it's a dangerous way of being, belief. Not only does it cause danger, it can't even foresee other dangers that may result. So these are four kinds of ways of testing the validity of any idea that we've seen in the text. Then of course, this is a dialectic within the first stage of the dialectic, so it's a mega dialectic. After you define it, you talk about how it functions. So if this is the definition dialectic, how does it function? So how does what we just described about the functioning of belief, and in particular, it's all relative, how does it function towards something else? Self to other. We've just defined the self itself. Now you talk about that, how it functions to another. And you pick the other. The other we picked is, what's most important to us? Understanding. How does belief function in relation to understanding or evidence and reason? And we saw that the evidence is always changed, but the beliefs must remain the same. So if the rapture was supposed to happen in Paul's lifetime 2,000 years ago, but it didn't, that's okay. Just change the evidence. But keep the belief. Trump said that he would not do wars, and then he does war. Is he a hypocrite and a liar and a scammer who should be put in jail and taken out of office? Nope. Just change the evidence. Maybe he was joking. Ha 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 ha. So it can't relate to evidence. We call that moving the goalposts. We were supposed to hit these goalposts, but we kicked it over there, we missed. So we just, instead of realizing we missed the mark, we just move the goalposts over here and say, actually, we got it, actually. Actually, the goalpost should have been over there. It wasn't that I was wrong. It was the evidence was wrong. So evidence and reason, and the definition that we saw from the text and the demonstration given in the text, the rapture thing. And reason, In principle or by definition, reason is blocked or sabotaged or silenced by belief, necessarily in order to protect its existence, because belief functions in, well, if you understand something, you don't need belief, so you're free. So if you can reason about something, you have to believe someone else. And of course, we're keeping in mind all this is about ourselves, our own capacity for understanding, our own mind and the nature of intellect itself, and our own self, the big three that we're after. How do we perfect our understanding? How do we know reality itself and our peak experiences of intellect? And how do we know the self? Well, if you have any beliefs about those things, because every one of those stages is reason. Understanding utilizes reason through time. Mind in our peak experiences, or the penultimate spiritual experiences, experiences reality directly as a oneness and is knowable because it's, well, as it's apprehended through mind, it is the source of reason. It's intelligible. That's the fancy word, intelligible. So reason exists within there as the structure and terms or aspects of pure intelligence. And of course, because it's rational, we can reason about it to reason about its cause, which is our journey from the penultimate to the ultimate, or crossing the purple line, we call it. Crossing the purple line because on the board we have the realm of the physical, the false, the lesser, ignorance, personal opinions and beliefs, using understanding to cross the green line into wisdom, but again using understanding about that peak experience to cross the purple line to know the self. And if you were reading along with us in our last book, Socrates and Jesus, A Dialogue in Heaven, a banger of a book, at the end of our reading we realized, while the ox-herding pictures of Zen Buddhism describe the enlightenment process of crossing the green line, we need to add our own extra steps to go from the peak experience to that which is beyond even experience. We called it the Lama pictures because the ox-herding pictures are pictures of a man catching and taming and riding an ox to describe the stages of crossing the green line. And so we thought, well, we could make our own animal, a llama, catching a llama and taming a llama to describe crossing the purple line. So reason, by definition, belief blocks reason, sabotages reason, silences reason, and distracts. And the demonstration was Harry. So this is from the book. We have to get this, by the way. This is reading. Harry left the conversation. Harry says, don't trust him. Personal attacks. Harry says, don't trust logic. Attacking the logos. Us versus them reframing. Competition. I thought you were on my team. And then eventually fight. The last vestibule. I can't remember what that word is. The last resort for people, for beliefs trying to block our own purpose and highest functioning logos. Philodianoia is start a fight. So this gives us a different kind. So this is the basic archetype of the dialectic in our first one. This one gives us an example of the mini dialectic, where it's just definition and demonstration, which is one way of using the dialectic. So as we read, we get the terms or the definitions from the text, and then we demonstrated it ourselves by writing it on the board and reflecting on it. You could even say understanding itself is definition through reason and demonstration in evidence or experience. You could even say that wisdom is that evidence of the direct experience of pure ousia, mind knowing itself, and reason, understanding and logos. You might even say that definition, demonstration are the names for the highest, most evolved capacities that we have as human beings. We have the capacity for experience or self-reflection in ousia, to reflect on our experience. And we have the capacity to do so with language, reason, words. So these would be our highest functionings as intelligent beings. So therefore, the art that makes use of it would be our purpose. We are wisdom seekers. And for us, it's understanding, because understanding is guided self-reflection through the logos. That's called the dialectic. So, our highest functioning and purpose as human beings, and what makes us more evolved than cabbages, caterpillars, and cows, is also within the dialectic itself. Isn't that interesting? That was a little example of how you can use the dialectic in this way. So, definition, demonstration, self to others, division, what we've just defined in that functioning to others, how does it relate to other others? That's division, that's the third stage. So we did a dialectic about that. So, the other that we just described was a conflict with reason and evidence. Another other is, how does it relate to? And for us, we chose, and again, you can pick your own. For us, we chose proving truth. How does that functioning of belief, which functions in conflict with reason and evidence, isn't that, by the way, isn't that enough? Isn't that all already mind-blowing? To live in a world where we are told everything is relative and everyone's entitled to their own beliefs, isn't it fucking mind-blowing to realize that belief functions in opposition to evidence and reason? Shouldn't that be alarming? Now, once we've realized that, well, actually, for us, we want to know the truth about self-reality. What's most meaningful? How to solve problems. So how does that functioning of belief allow us to prove truth? We saw in the text that it can't prove itself or anything else true. If everything is relative, all you can say is, well, it seems to me. You can't disprove yourself or anything else, because if somebody says, well, it seems to me that that's wrong, that's not allowed. You can't disprove its own, or prove or disprove its own validity or anything else. All you can say is, it seems that way to me. You also can't improve or surpass. And we talked about how difficult it is when you grow up in this or that group to go beyond your parents. Whether you like it or not, your parents will come down on you in some kind of way. Why? Because we don't have beliefs, beliefs have us. We would be, if we were free, we would be able to participate well with reason and evidence. Belief causes a fight against that which we most want. So we say our beliefs have us. So that's why we call it a zombie virus. You can't go beyond Jesus. You'll get kicked out of the church. Heresy. Jesus is the best boy. See him in his nappy on the cross? That's him. He died for you. He is the best boy. And you are a small bean compared to him. And you should feel bad and ask for forgiveness for existing. And now that you feel bad about yourself, I can get you to give me your money. Or abuse you in lots of different ways. Or send you to kill people I don't like. For profit. Now that I've got you feeling bad about yourself through belief. We also talked about going to ashrams and mosques and Zendos, and all sorts of... There are thousands and thousands of different kinds of groups that are bound by belief and have a figure as the main guy. But of course you can't surpass them, because that would require you to deal with both the true and the false. How far did they reach in the true understanding and knowing, the true evidence and reason, the true highest experience and highest understanding of that experience? And where do they miss the mark? Where were they blocked? Either by a lack of insight or false beliefs. So this demonstrates the use of the dialectic to relate to what's true, false, and both. And as a conclusion, we use this to demonstrate how conclusion works as well. From this, if you can't judge what's true, or to give a true definition, if you can't use that ability to judge truth to function in demonstrating and removing what's false, so the great a high function, or the highest functioning of being able to see truth, is to purify what's false. Well, if it's not the highest, it's in the top two. And as a result, you can't relate to the true, you can't relate to the false, you can't relate to both in order to surpass or improve. And as a result, you synthesize that, therefore, can't judge. Therefore, from this progression through reasoning, we come to a new idea. Holy crap, belief means you can't judge. Is that mind-blowing? Belief prevents judgment. Now, if you've got Instagram or YouTube Shorts or whatever, social media, you probably come across many people, comedians, interviewing believers, religious folk or MAGA folk, and then asking them basic questions about judgment, and the comedy happens because they can't judge. They'll ask something like, how old do you think planet Earth is? 2,000 years. That's what I heard this morning. Really? Didn't Jesus exist before then? Or what about dinosaurs? What about all this other evidence? No, can't judge. I just believe it. Hey, Trump said this. Yes, and that makes him the best president. Oh, but then he did this very next thing. He said no wars, and then he started murdering people. Innocent children at a primary school in Iran, and then triple tapping the bomb, so when their parents came to help the ones that survived, they would get murdered. And when the health officials came to help people, they would get murdered. Yes, that's what happened. That's what happens when we allow belief, conservatism, to rule politics. If there is anything in the world you can judge as bad, this would be it. The only way you can support conservative politics or religion would be if you cannot judge something as good or bad. Because murdering innocent children and their family and the people trying to help them is fucking bad. It's bad. If you can't judge that as bad, then anything goes. Thus, the extreme injustice we see in our current society, and same thing for your own soul. We want to surface our own unsuspected false beliefs we carry about our own selves and our abilities because they are bad. We don't know they're bad, we just believe them. Have you ever noticed, have you ever had a friend who says, oh, you guys don't like me? And you say, hey, listen to this evidence. We invite you to parties. We value your opinion. We ask you questions. Shouldn't that evidence and reason prove, shouldn't you be able to judge that that belief about yourself being stupid or not unliked or not good enough, shouldn't that be seen as wrong and removed? And you might recognize, well, maybe they tentatively agree, but then what happens at the next party or the next time you see them? They're doing the same shit. They're saying the same shit about themselves. You can't judge. Belief prevents judgment. So, not only are we learning the dialectic, which is our use of reflection and language or words, our highest functioning evolutionarily speaking, as we demonstrated in crossing the green line and the purple line, it's our highest spiritual functioning. It's the spiritual method. It's the method of true learning, education. We're learning how to read. So we're getting all this. It's a win-win-win-win-win. Yep, that's what I said. So we're practicing our intended function. We're also learning about the different ways of using the dialectic, but also dropping bangers of insight. So we can see how understanding leads to insight. The dialectic leads to insight. Isn't that a huge insight? Belief prevents judgment. Does it make sense of things you've been wondering about, like your friend who cannot judge a specific thing if it challenges his belief about himself? Why MAGA would always support whoever fascist claims to be speaking for Jesus or speaking for the conservatives? Despite any evidence, and all of the evidence showing that he's a liar and a scammer and a murderer and worse? Does it make sense? Oh, it's simply because belief, which can't relate to universal principles, only justifies itself in a circular way, leads to absurdities and can't predict the future or prevent catastrophes, also can't relate to evidence and is in conflict with evidence. So fighting in conflict with evidence and reason and understanding, meaning it can't understand whether something is true or false or go beyond something, therefore can't judge. So belief can't judge. Belief prevents human judgment. That's amazing. Isn't that fucking amazing to see? And because we got there through understanding, using the text as the launching pad, somebody who has gotten there already, the author, reading it without interpretation, but not just perceiving it. Reading involves that movement from perception to understanding. That's the dialectic. And because we've been applying this dialectic, you can repeat it to your friends. Anyone who's open and cool enough to listen. You can take it with you anywhere. Whether you're in a dream or a fantasy or a daydream or a distraction. Anything that belief-based that comes up. We did mention fantasies because fantasies play out your images and beliefs if you don't engage in relationships dialectically or philosophically. In your dreams, in your distractions. Hey, I was focusing on something and I was distracted by something else. Was that a manifestation of a belief? What happened in that little drama of my daydream? Oh, even in that daydream, even in that fantasy, even in that dream that you are having when you sleep, whenever you or anyone else is governed by belief, so that's going to be bad. Definition to do with principles, how it functions in relation to evidence and reason. So I'm not going to be able to function well, but also I'm not going to be able to judge anything properly. So my drama will lead to failures. Drama in your relationships, drama in your daydreams, drama in your night dreams. Can't judge. So once you've synthesized that, you take this back to the beginning. And you apply that synthesized idea from that dialectic, you cannot judge, to what was related to at the beginning, or what's most important. And we have, so you cannot reject what's false, but also cannot judge cannot see truth, and cannot reject what's false. So this is to see how the last step of conclusion works. You need another, so self to self, self to others, others to others, and others back to self. You need an other to take back to the self. That's the synthesis, the key idea that you synthesize from the dialectic, and the analysis, or taking it back to the self, is relating it back to what we saw at the beginning. What we saw at the beginning was cannot prove itself or anything else true. Meaning we cannot see the truth that we are seeking, that we seek to perfect, and cannot reject the false we are seeking to purify in the human game. And we took this way of approaching the dialectic, the true, the false, the both, and the result, and we said we can actually apply it to what we're doing. Philodianoi, the art of dialectic, the thing that we're supposed to be doing. The true would be what we are learning right now in reading the text in this way. So, philodianoia, the love of understanding, or the art of the greatest art, the human art, the art of dialectic, has its dialectic within it. And dialectic on the dialectic. But of course it does, because that's what the dialectic's all about, baby. Make it... So within the dialectic, we could do a dialectic on that. So we can relate to the truth by reading these logos-based texts. That's why we read the books we read. We remove what's false by the art of philosophical midwifery, which is the use of the dialectic to address your specific personal blocks. The dialectic is used to listen to the messages you're getting in your night dreams. Dream analysis. And that relates to both, because your dreams will give you messages about how you're doing in terms of your goal or perfection, how you're doing in terms of removing your problems or your purification. So there's our both. And as a result of going through this process, you can share it with others. Write your own dialogues. You can have wonderful conversations over coffee with your friends. You can function as a dialectician yourself, like Joseph is. So there's our third demonstration of a way you can use the dialect. It's also we're using to demonstrate the principle of hyparxis. The highest point of the lower level becomes the beginning point of the next level. So for us as human beings, the highest functioning we can do in the physical world, our greatest activity, is what we just defined in the dialectic. People in the physical world can murder people for fun and profit, can exploit for capitalist gain. You can watch television, you can play sports games, you can learn math and science, you can learn about societal systems and how to harmonize them. You can learn the dialectic, the highest functioning of humankind, or intellect, the highest functioning of any species in intellect within the physical realm of existence, within the physical realm of perception, because what the dialectic does is take our perceptions and appearances in the realm of becoming and ask about are their causes. What's the cause of thinking? What's the cause of human problems? Belief. What's the cause of human excellence? Understanding. How do we participate in that? If we have ousia and logos, we have the ability to self-reflect and participate in language. How do we use it in the highest? What's that art? So that's the highest functioning in the physical world. The dialectic is also the entry into the next realm, because that kind of understanding leads to wisdom, or the peak experience of the realm of mind, being, or the intellect. And because we are recognizing that philodianoia is better than philosophy, we see that even in this peak experience of mind, you can experience beauty, bliss, because these are the aspects of goodness, the harmonious order of all the parts, or justice. You can recognize whole, part, same, different, all of the building blocks of understanding that we've been using, all of the building blocks of understanding, which is the greatest functioning of a human being, whole, part, same, different, like, unlike, these ideas that we use for thinking are also existing in here that you can experience directly. The highest aspect of that would be, once again, the logos. A different kind of dialectic, or, well, same dialectic, but applied to a different object, asking the same questions about that. So understanding this realm, that kind of dialectic or dianoia, the hyparxis of that realm, which is why we talked about the llama herding pictures, or the stages of enlightenment as we cross the purple line. So if this is wisdom, this triangle, we can understand philosophy is that, the love of this. And if we are claiming that dianoia is greater than philosophy, because that's dianoia and that's dianoia. And of course, this realm of beyond philosophy, knowing the self, or what the Greeks called phronesis, philophronesis, the love of knowing of the self. And because we have understanding, we can look for patterns and say, well, actually, I wonder if the highest functioning, even in the realm of self, beyond all experience and wisdom, I wonder if that hyparxis is also the logos. So could our goal be in the unfolding into the realm of the physical, where we get our problems and beliefs, and what we are doing right now in our evolution back up? Aren't we following the logos? Isn't that exactly what we called dianoia, understanding the logos? So as we saw, we can ask the question, well, why go through that process? Well, we saw in this dialectic that, excuse me, that as a result of going through the unfolding, can't prove anything true, can't prove it false, can't do both and surpass or improve, cannot judge, therefore you cannot judge. What's the result? Oh, because we realize we can't judge, we go back to this idea. Belief that opposes evidence and reason means we can't see the truth we are supposed to be perfecting, and we can't reject the false that we are supposed to be purifying because we can't judge. So not only can we not relate to reason and evidence through belief, we can't improve ourselves and we can't solve problems. So in other words, as a result of this process of going through the logos or the dialectic, we return to the beginning having learnt something with a deeper insight, functioning in a higher way. So we can use that insight from the dialectic to ask the question, well, what's the point of the physical realm, the realm of mind and the self? What's the point of evolution at all? Or creation at all? Or unfoldment and return at all? Well, we saw that the hyparxis of the physical world is logos. The hyparxis of the realm of mind is to see the logos, the inherent logos within it. That allows us to go to the self so we can hypothesize the reason that for the sake of which, the reason that we go from the self only to return to the self via the self logos is because the hyparxis of the self is the self logos, that we may have only come to learn and master as an art by going through this process of time or becoming, the realm of becoming where we can learn. So why go through reincarnation and being born into this world of injustice and only to return to the source? We take the logos and the dialectic in our back pocket, allowing for what was formerly just the self to recognize there is a highest aspect and functioning of the self through the self logos. That's all. Now, we would only be able to come to that hypothesis with the dialectic and understanding. But as we saw, if it's a true hypothesis, it has to be able to be proven true or false or surpassed. So as we learn more, we can improve or surpass. We can improve on our hypothesis. In other words, I'm not saying this great holy book, It's All Relative, teaches us that the reason that we return to the self through the art of dialectic is because self-logos, to see the inherent logos within the self beyond experience, is the ultimate purpose of everything, and it's that for the sake of which creation exists. And you must believe it, and that's the final word. And if you don't believe it, we will get you. You don't say that. That very theory was literally right now improved upon. It was this right now in the present, right now, by exploring this dialectic, we improved, we improved on that theory. We can use the idea of hyparxis from the dialectic to address that question that we've been wondering about, the ultimate question. Why? Why everything? Why from the self just to return to the self? Why go through this ignorance and forgetting and injustice? That's the big question. And that's a question we've been carrying all through this channel. That's called being on a quest. Carry a question is to be on a quest. And if we carry this question, any question, the most meaningful question that you have, through your reading, then you can see new things, develop your theory, gain new insights. That's why we carry questions. So, pretty cool? Pretty neat? What do you say, Emma?
That's funny.
And funny, I suppose, as well. Why not?
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
Thank you. So that idea of hypoxis is that we cannot judge, we cannot see the truth or purify the false, reject the false. We're stuck as a slave to ignorance and a blind, savage foot soldier to any politician, religious official, or capitalist who'll make use of our ignorance to do horrific things that will hurt our fellow man and our own soul and the way that we live and die and reincarnate. Therefore, we cannot judge the truth and we cannot reject what is shown as false is the beginning of the next level. So, this is the conclusion stage. So we've done a dialectic for definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. And this dialectic is a demonstration of how the dialectic can be used in our human drama. Because there is a fundamental principle or underlying causal belief about self or reality, by definition, that we're after. That's the thing we want to see and judge as true, or see it's false so we can reject it. That thing that says that you're not good enough, you're incapable, you can't solve your problems, you can't reach excellence, you can't improve things, you're a small bean, you're a bad noodle. The thing that says, get the fuck out! Get the fuck out to you. The thing that says,
brain rot escalates.
That you've got an escalating brain rot. Because that definition or false belief or principle, or true one, by definition creates how it functions or demonstrates as your state of mind. And that state of mind divides up into the roles that you play in your dreams and daydreams and your drama and your seeking of goals and your relationships. That's your drama or role. And that role you play within your drama concludes or synthesizes as a certain success or failure. That would be the synthesis part, which then the analysis part ends up in failure, confirming the false belief. So that's our self-fulfilling prophecy. False belief. So I talked about those comedians who talk to a religious person or a Trump or a MAGA person, religious or conservative person, and tries to get them to judge based on evidence and reason, and hilarity unfolds. But even though they should have been embarrassed, they will always walk away from that situation. See, that's what happens if you don't believe in Jesus. You're an asshole like that guy. See, Trump was right when he said fake news. Debate, bros.
I'm a debate pervert.
And I have an axiomatic
of the Bible. Debate dweeb.
This functioning of debate, you end up just confirming that false belief. That's the self-fulfilling prophecy. Aspect of our problems. Or our successes, as we've just defined. So that would be our synthesis. And analysis, the two aspects of that last category of the dialectic. Our successes would improve understanding, insight, or The art of the activity. Art of logos. Activity. Or as we've been talking about today, all of these new theories are improving our understanding or theory, having great new insights into the nature of the human condition that we are calling knowledge bombs being dropped on our asses.
I think it's so awesome.
And it is awesome.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
And we would scoop the moon in the cup for all of us who are participating and understanding as well. The art of the logos activity or the dialectic. About what is true. Which is of course called learning. So we're either stuck in a self-fulfilling prophecy of our false belief as a result of carrying a false belief or motivated by belief itself, or we end up improving our understanding, insight, or improving the art of the dialectic itself in relation to the true, which is called learning, depending on your drama. Whether or not you are using the logos or contemplating self and reality, philosophical speculation, or whether you're using belief and contemplating your false image about self and reality. So it's either going to be the failures of the self images and belief, or the successes of logos and ousia, or images and beliefs of ignorance, our personal, or the knowing and understanding, or your highest vision of reality and your highest use of logos. One relates to wisdom, one relates to ignorance. So that's to demonstrate how the dialectic is used to understand a human drama, the human experience or activity or drama. So in relation to what we're talking about in this dialectic, the definition of belief and its all relative, how it functions in relation to understanding evidence and reason, how that conflict with evidence and reason functions in relation to truth. You can't judge truth or reject what's false. That belief causes your state of mind or functions. Harry's state of mind, and I'm leaving this open to you. You can finish this dialectic by talking about Harry's state of mind, either from what's said or what you can infer. How does that relate into his dramas and roles? How is Harry relating to Joseph? How is Harry relating to his girlfriend? How's Harry relating to the dialectic? The very purpose. He seems to be fighting against his girlfriend, fighting against the dialectic, fighting against Joseph, his should be most cherished friend if he's a dialectician. See? Isn't that amazing? Have you noticed that people support fascists or dictators? The people who lie about the nature of self and the divine, religious authorities, people will fight to the death, even though there are hundreds of thousands of different ones who have different beliefs about God and reality, and they all think they're right. Isn't that insane? They can't all be right, you idiots. If it's right, then it should be available to everyone. That's understanding. And yet, they fight against people who try to help them. Ever tried to talk to a religious person? So this is a new insight. Oh, all of these things that I've been carrying as a question or puzzle, why do people vote for the conservatives who hurt them? Take away, poison their air, set up data centers that poison their environment, give the natural resources of Australia away for free to overseas mega billionaires? Why do we allow for the absolute worst people to do the worst things and fight for them? I'm a Labor. I'm a Liberal. I'm a Conservative. Shouldn't that be a puzzle to anyone who's curious? Oh, easy. This dialectic shows that's nothing other than the drama or role or division within all human beings caused by their state of mind. Oh, how dare you? You're anti-Semitic for questioning my religion. You're a goddamn liberal for questioning Donald Trump. You're an evil Marxist socialist. I heard those words, and I heard that, and Fox News told me that those were bad words, not good words, bad words, for questioning capitalism. See, certain state of mind that the comedians point to make fun of. So people fighting against their own interests and what they want. Everyone wants clean air. Everyone wants wealth equality. Everyone wants harmony. Everyone wants an end to war and exploitation by the billionaire Jeffrey Epstein class. But they fight to defend the Epstein people. Because the state of mind that they're attached to, that they are familiar with, they even identify with, because behind that state of mind is the definition, the false causal belief about self and reality. And what we are seeing is all belief. Therefore, we need to develop ousia, insight, and logos, understanding about self and reality. And ousia and logos, that's the dialectic. So you're either ruled by the logos, following the inherent intelligibility of the self that unfolds into mind and being, that unfolds into the principles of our physical world. So following that through the dialectic to harmonize your self and soul to the higher principles, allowing you to judge what is true and reject what's false through understanding, insight, and the perfecting of the dialectic. Or you are functioning in a problem caused by belief. A belief about self and reality, or not following the logos and dialectic, will have lesser states of mind, or worse states of mind, or even the worst states of mind, causing you to play out the drama, as Harry relates to Joseph Elia the dialectic in the book, leading to a success or failure. Failure is you end up confirming the failure and becomes confirming the false beliefs that you carry, self-fulfilling prophecy, and the success is improving the understanding insights or the art of the dialectic about true, which is learning, and understanding and rejecting what is false and harmful. So this dialectic that we have learnt from the text, you can apply to unpacking the messages in your daydreams and your dreams and your distracting thoughts and things, but especially your dreams. There's a drama that we play, a little movie that we watch every time we sleep. This is how the movie is arranged. So therefore, we can ask a question: what does that say about our dream maker? So just as we're reading this text to get the information to help us perfect what is true and purify what is false for our own selves, relationships, and the world, we're also trying to understand what is the way of thinking behind Joseph. Ever been in an exam that you haven't really studied for, but you realize, hang on a second, there is a way of thinking behind the way the examiner asks questions. If I figure out the structure of thought behind the examiner, he always gives us the right answer. So for example, what's that big statue called in New York? The Statue of Liberty. He gives you a wrong answer that takes one of those ideas, Statue of Freedom. Another wrong one, the Tower of Liberty. And one crazy one, banana. So if you can recognize there's a structure and thought behind the way the examiner asks his questions, it's a higher way of functioning. And for us, the higher way of functioning is Joseph as the dialectician, the very thing we want to be ourselves, as our desire, as what we seek, as our activity, what we all want to understand and function through. So, okay, it's not banana, so I've got rid of that. Or maybe there's another one here. Another wrong one. The Temple of Justice. It's not Temple of Justice because it doesn't have any of the same words in it. Maybe you can even say, oh, actually, this builds on what was said before. Or maybe in the question, the word statue. What kind of statue exists? Or in a previous question, you saw that it was about statues, so you can take that information. So it's going to be a statue of something. Statue of Freedom or Statue of Liberty. Liberty is repeated. So if I hadn't realized it was about statues, I could have been curious. I could have been stuck between liberty and liberty, because liberty is repeated. Tower of Liberty or Statue of Liberty. Right. Because liberty is repeated and statue is repeated. So because it's probably about statues, it's Statue of Liberty, and it's not banana. Anyway, so that's one example of a higher way of thinking, where you are not just relating to the material, but looking for a structure of thought behind the examiner. That's what we are doing. We're learning how Joseph is thinking, which uses the principle mentioned in the book, congruence. If Joseph is a philosopher or dialectician, and we become like Joseph, if A equals B and C equals A, then we, C, will also equal what Joseph is equal to. We will also be a philosopher and dialectician. And as we've been realizing, belief is the cause of all human problems and suffering. Dialectic is our excellence and the solution. So by trying to see the structure behind how he's thinking, we are becoming our ideals. The same thing you can apply to your dreams. So if our dream maker is using this version of the dialectic, and probably all of them, but this one in particular, in the way the drama plays out within the human characters that you relate to in your dream, if you relate to these characters and it's not actually you because you're asleep, that belief, that underlying belief and image must really reflect your problem, your belief, your pathologos, your sick logos belief. Therefore, you might see a similarity between the states of mind in your dreams and in your waking life, and maybe even a history through your past that you can even trace back to its original cause, which is what we want to relate to with understanding. Therefore, you might be able to make sense of the drama that you got really identified with and wrapped up in, even though you were actually asleep on the bed. You can trace all of this back by seeing, hey, did you reach your goal or was it a failure? Therefore, what role were you playing? Therefore, what state of mind were you in? Therefore, what can you learn about your false belief? Or, if it's a success, gain a deeper understanding, insight, or mastery of the art of the truth. So, if that's what the dream maker is doing, what must that say about the thinking behind the dream maker? That's what that whole Statue of Liberty thing was about. Is our dream maker a dialectician? If he functions in a most ideal and appropriate way for every single living being on the planet, could it be the ideal of the dialectician? And if we take our other question about hyparxis and say, hang on a second, if the dialectic is a functioning of the logos, so the best people in the world are the people who are engaged in the dialectic. They're the people who join this channel. You are the best, hooray for you. Not because you're on the right team, or because I like you, or because you resemble my family or parents, because it's the highest functioning you can do. It's the hyparxis. Those who've had a spiritual experience, are you like Jesus, who just have the experience and then go use their beliefs to make sense of their peak experience? Or, the countless other people who've had an insight and then start a self-help course or write a series of books or something? Or are you a philosopher, lover of wisdom, because wisdom has logos too, and seeking higher, deeper, more profound experiences of it through recognizing the logos, functioning through the dialectic even in that peak experience? And the best kind of philosopher, philophronesis, lover of self, or philodianoia, lover of understanding, would be those that are deriving all of the ideas of understanding from that peak experience, and also using their dialectic and learning to see the inherent logos within that and ask a question about how that must exist in a higher way in the self. And we said, well, if that's a principle or a pattern we're unfolding, so the reason we're going through this is we can establish a pattern in movement, and what we learn from the human activity to move from ignorance to wisdom, we can infer there must be a structural similarity, analogy, likeness, so we can infer about the higher. So in the same way, the highest functioning of wisdom or insight or peak experiences is to follow the logos to reach the highest logos of it. Whenever you go through wisdom, cross the purple line to the self, we would say, oh, that same logos and dialectic must be the peak functioning of self too. If that's the case, we can take that insight or theory. Again, it has to be provable, so you have to test this for yourself. And if you get there, please join the Discord and share what you've seen and what it took for you to get there. If therefore our dreams know all about our false beliefs about self and reality, and the truth about self and reality, and uses the dialectic to function in the most caring and providential way through our dreams, is this dream maker that we are wondering about a demonstration of that very ultimate state of being that we are seeking ourselves? Something to wonder about and carry as a question or theory as you reflect on your dreams. How is your dream reflection going? Are you having fun applying this or any other dialectic to them? Are you wondering about what it must say about the dream maker itself? Does that new theory or insight help your question, help your wondering? Has it made you more curious about your dreams, to wonder if our dream maker is the ideal self? There's a genre of anime called isekai, where a character goes to like a regular everyday man, gets reborn or discovers himself in a new magical fantasy world where he has to level up. And sometimes there's a guide like directing this new character. Hey, you need to level up your archery and you need to find members of your party, make friends and do quests. And there's a trope within isekais that this guiding intelligence guiding the development of this isekai anime character sometimes turns out to be that very character in the future, or because he's also relating to the past, outside of time at the end of the development. So this hero needed to save the universe has to go back in time to guide his younger self through these developmental stages of leveling up. It's a trope in some isekai animes. So is the dream maker something like that? Something to wonder about. As the highest self-logos hyparxis of the dialectic that knows all about both self and mind and the false beliefs about self and mind, and can use that functioning to benefit every living being that dreams. Is that an insight? Is that a wisdom bomb? Is it neat?
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know, or now you understand.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw.
No bull testicles.
Do a poggers.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
I said no bull testicles.
That's weird that you think that.
I know, it is weird. I think no bull testicles. I apologize.
Funny, cool, and accents. Come on.
Come on. So, demonstrating that kind of use of the dialectic that you can practice with reflection on your dreams, or the problems that you play out in your relationships, or everyday stuff. How you relate to your goals, your hobbies, your partner, if you have one. So, within the text, cannot judge upon truth and cannot reject what is false. Manifests as Harry's state of mind that you can put in. You can do, how does Harry therefore relating in his role in the drama to Joseph, the dialectician, the person he should be most friends with? To Aaliyah, his beloved, the person he should most be supporting and encouraging and happy for the success of, and wanting to know and understand if they're together. How does he relate to the dialectic? The very thing that helps all people and is our highest goal ourselves to function through. As a conclusion, so what did they conclude in the end of that dialectic that we just finished between Aaliyah and Joseph? All you can say with belief is it's a personal view that can't judge truth, can't remove what's false. So all you can really say with a belief is, seems so. You can't make any truth claims and you can't remove what's false even when showed reason and evidence. That's called prejudice. You insist it's true, even though you can't make actual truth claims. You never remove it despite evidence and reason showing it's wrong. You are pretending or cosplaying being an expert when you're not, because all you can say is it seems true. That's called prejudice. Isn't that fascinating? Anyone ruled by belief is essentially functioning in a prejudice. If you're not seeking the logos, seeking the mastery of the dialectic, following the logos to the self and mind and self. If you're content with the beliefs that you carry, you are a prejudiced person. Could that be why? Could that be the nature of human problems? So that's the synthesis, and that question, how do we relate that to what's most significant about the idea, ourselves? Analysis. So prejudice is in conflict with, so prejudice, which is to be ruled by belief, is therefore in conflict with our own desire for goodness and benefit, our own truth of reality and truth of self that we, no, not, it's in conflict with the truth and reality and the truth of self that we all seek. It's in conflict with oneness of understanding that we all want. Therefore, it's the conflict and abandonment of the rational and intelligible, which is called the intelligible and rational mind conflict war. So belief or prejudice is the cause of all human problems and conflicts. So that's giving us an understanding of all of human problems and conflicts. That should be a profound happiness and insight for you, because you're a human with problems and facing conflicts, both individually in your relationships and collectively as a species. So that's understanding individuals, understanding the human condition as a whole, war on mind. That's the nature of the human problem as a collective. We're in a war against mind, fought by beliefs opposing understanding and dialect. That's the war we are facing. Not a war between Christians and Muslims or Jews and Palestinians or conservatives and Democrats. It's a war fought by beliefs themselves against understanding and dialectic. That's the human condition. Tell your friends. Put on a bumper sticker. Send flyers out in the street. Stand next to a religious person handing out flyers about some wacky nutjob church that's trying to scam your money, and hand out flyers about this. Have one word. One sentence. The human condition is a war on mind fought by beliefs opposing understanding and dialectic. Have on page 2 of the flyer. To be ruled by belief is, in principle, prejudice, and is the source of all human problems and conflicts. Please refer to how Harry relates to his girlfriend, his friend, and the dialectic in this book. And you can send him a PDF or something of the book, or a copy if you got money. So that's the nature of all human problems and the nature of the human condition, the war on mind. That also we can make a conclusion about, as a result of this mega super ultimate dialectic on belief, about the human purpose. The opposite. Our purpose, therefore, would be to perfect rulership within our soul, relationship, and species of the self-logos, and our own functioning within that rulership of the dialectic or dialectician. So, individually, the cause of all problems and conflict is belief. To be ruled by belief is prejudice. The nature of human excellence is to perfect being ruled by the self-logos, or following the logos, some say, and your own functioning of the dialectic within every area of your life. That's individually. And collectively, the nature of the human condition is a war on mind, nature of human problems. Problem or conflict. This is us diagnosing the nature of the condition of, as belief can't diagnose or predict the future, understanding can. So this is us functioning as a doctor, diagnosing the nature of the human condition. What's the nature of all human conflicts and problems? As a whole, it's a war on mind, fought by belief against understanding dialectic. And therefore, our excellence would be philodianoia, one word to unify the whole dialectic. The ultimate human activity and excellence, our true human activity, our true and ultimate human activity and excellence, philodianoia. Well, we won't say ultimate because that would require talking about the dream maker and stuff. So let's just say our true human activity Yeah, because even the dream maker functions with a love of understanding. The true and ultimate, we'll put it in. So individually, all human problems are caused by our beliefs, which are in principle prejudice, the more you know. And our excellence is to be ruled by the self-logos and function as a dialectician. Humanity itself is in a war with mind, war on mind, fought by beliefs opposing understanding and dialectic. And the nature of human excellence, a true and ultimate human activity and excellence, philodianoia, love of understanding. Therefore, we end up with a kind of truth table. We have the true and good and unified or oneness. What? Excited to see someone in chat, but it was just a lot. Boo. We have the nature of the false, the bad, and the divided. For individuals, individuals and the collective or species. Oh, it should be the other way around, didn't we? Because we worked backwards. We're addressing belief in this book. So let's put this over here. This over here. To be ruled by belief. Which is called prejudice. Is the nature of what's bad and false and causing of division within our individual soul. Yep. And within the collective, nature of the human condition as a collective is a war on mind, fought by beliefs fighting against our own true, good, and unified Dianoia. Dianoia and dialectic, the functioning of Dianoia. Therefore, the true, the good, the unified, the ideal of us as individuals is ruled by logos. Ruled by self logos. Which is functioning as a dialectician. As a collective, make this the same color. Philadelphia. So the true, the good, the unified, that which is our ultimate purpose, functioning activity that brings about our truth, our goodness, and what unifies us as a species. Philo, which means love. Dianoia, which is the understanding of the self-logos. Dianoia. Philadelphia. Love of understanding. To translate it into English. Understanding with a capital U, because it's not just physical understanding. So there's our truth table. Pretty neat. This could be a bumper sticker. You got a big truck. Your car sell. And some people will put this on the back of on your rear window or whatever. So what have we got? Well, we've learned about what we gain from turning our perception into understanding. Now, a believer says, if all truth is perception, then just reading this book is sufficient. Now you know the book. How much different is it having gone through a couple of episodes of turning our perception into understanding? We end up with a truth table about the good and the bad, the excellence and the cause of problems of individuals in our collective. Is that worth doing? Is that pretty good? Pretty good? Worth the time? Worth the fun? Because we have funny sound drops?
You're a baby! Making ice cream's a good and courageous thing.
Sometimes they're funny.
Like literally, suck my dick, dude.
That one's funny.
Whoa, 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 lady, shut up, please.
Hey, sometimes they fight, and that's funny.
You're a little bitch-ass baby.
Is it worth it? We also learned 4 different styles of that dialectic. We also learned certain principles, like the principles of hyparxis. We even snuck in that ideal functioning of Philadelphia, the dialectic, a dialectic on the dialectic. That's why we're reading what we do. That's why I'm encouraging you to do dream analysis. Why I'm saying how it's the dream analysis that will give you your problems and blocks to remove your own specific personal beliefs. That's why I'm encouraging you to write a sequel to this book. That's the 4 things we need to be doing. Hooray. We've seen how this dialectic can also give us clues about even higher questions or different questions. Because the dialectic starts with an idea, unfolds into experience, then into drama, then synthesizes a kind of learning from that drama to return with that in your back pocket. Could that help us understand why anything, why creation, why learning? We saw how this gives rise to insights, deeper theories of understanding. And of course, you have to test the theory for yourself to validate it in your experience. But also perfects our art. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win.
No, it's a win-win-win.
It's a win. 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 It's a win.
Win-win-win. Right?
You're beautiful and everybody loves you, and you have
Everybody?
the most beautiful breasts and
Oh my
the
goodness.
juiciest ass.
Oh. It's a win for me, I guess. Anyway,
I think it's so awesome.
thank you. Whereas, to be ruled by belief, which we now know as prejudice, always ends up in a confirming of that false belief or a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why this first part of this book, presenting the reasoning, can help Aaliyah in seeing through a false belief that her dad had and her boyfriend had, so she must have felt it was real enough to be attracted to him. But someone like Harry, who's blocked even more, isn't enough to fix him. He'll probably end up more confirmed in whatever false beliefs he had, which is the functioning of the debate. Which is why you need dream analysis and midwifery. But people listening can benefit. They're not on the hot seat. It's provided they've got a good heart and good head. They're open and intelligent enough and open-hearted enough to be open to learning. So we've understood why self-fulfilling prophecies happen, but also if you're stuck in a self-fulfilling prophecy where you can't judge what is true or what is false, we can see how there's a what is it called? A self-defense mechanism built into belief, which is why we say we don't have beliefs, beliefs have us. And if we can see that beliefs cause the war in our species, no one wants war. Even the billionaire Epstein class people, the capitalists, conservatives, and religious who start the wars, they don't want to fight the war. I saw another comedy thing where this comedian goes up to some Trump people, MAGA people, said, "Do you support Trump's war in Iran?" And they, "Oh yes, we do." "Oh, can you sign this petition to support the war?" And they signed it. And then he started to give them army jackets. Like, "What are you giving us this for?" "Oh, because you're going to go and fight in Iran for freedom and Donald Trump, right? Didn't you say you supported the war? So you're willing to fight and die for it, right?" No, what? We'll pray for you. You're a sick person. We'll pray for you. And they ran away. They don't want war and conflict. They only want to inflict it on people who challenge their way of being or beliefs. The non-MAGA, the non-Christians, the non-white-skinned. So no one actually wants war for themselves. The war is inflicted against our own goodness, truth, and unity. Therefore, replace a love of belief for a Trump or a love of nationalism for a love of understanding. And instead of being a butt of the joke like those people on those TikToks, be ruled by the self-logos, a dialectician. So, some fantastic conclusions. This book must be pretty amazing for us to be able to come to such conclusions about ourselves and our species. But also, it presented it to us in a way where the only way you would have come to that insights isn't belief. At no point did the book say, this is the meaning of life and the meaning and the problems of life individually and collectively. It didn't say that. It's not a scientific textbook. In other words, the only way you would have come to that insights is if you were doing it. Raising your mind to meet the mind of the author by reading, not just perceiving, which includes everything we've been doing in the last couple of episodes, which means doing the dialectic. So that very thing that is the purpose for us individually and collectively, you would have only realized it's the purpose if you were doing it. Right? It's like a game or a movie. You only get the reward when you've reached the level of ability to make use of that reward. So like you only get the mega attack when you're developed enough through playing the game to be able to use the mega attack and not blow yourself up. So it's giving us a kind of goal at the end that you would only see had you been doing the dialectic. And also giving us what we need to learn the different sorts of dialectics that we can use in different areas. So, what else is worth reflecting on here? Oh yeah, also doing the dialectic gives rise to not just insights, understanding insights in an art. It also gives rise to questions. Write that in there too. And questions. Because we've walked away with not just an understanding of the purpose and problems of individuals and humanity itself, we've given rise to questions about our dream maker, about our ideal function, what that might be, about the isekai god idea. So it gives rise to questions that we can continue to carry as we continue to read. And that's what we'll be doing now. We'll be continuing to read because we're at the end of part 1. So all of this is just part 1. What a banger of a book. So I'll take a quick bio break and I'll be right back and we'll start part 2. Congratulations for all those who've come along this far on the journey. I hope none of anything that we've said in the last few episodes you are believing. Only understanding, practicing, going through it, understanding how it all fits together, understanding how it's in the text, and practicing it with your friends over coffee. Cheers. Here we are. Part 2, hooray! Congratulations those who are on this journey with me. Part 2, we need Harry. We need Joseph, we need Aaliyah, and we need Euripides. So, Euripides says, hey, I'd love to hear a recollection of the conversation you guys have had. But notice, why does he ask Aaliyah to give the recollection, but not Harry? Given what we've been going through the last couple of episodes, would we be able to give a recollection? Does it require something than just having perceived the conversation? Must you have some sort of understanding of what happened to be able to recollect it properly? Hey, if those experts of like football, they watch the football all the time and they have the jerseys and they paint the faces and they do the fantasy football, would they be able to give a good recollection of what happened in a particular game? Compared to someone who doesn't understand football, doesn't understand the players and the specifics. I've actually, there was a Instagram that I came across that was funny. It was a guy, like one of those, like very, very common fans, not of understanding what the logos, but of understanding football. And he was facing away from the television and he got his wife to describe what was happening. And apparently it's very funny for the for fellow football fans. Like all of the comments were people finding it hilarious. On one play, they threw it for like 12 yards or something, which is good because 10 yards mean you get another set of downs. And she said, he threw it, but he didn't throw it very far. And everyone in chat was like, Not far, that's crazy. It was 12 yards. Or 14 yards. Anyway, it can be funny to get people who don't understand to describe an event. Another source of humor. Part 2. Oh, so yes, I'd love to hear you recall it sometime. I'd be pleased to hear your recollection, Aaliyah, or even that of one of your friends here. And those friends may be you. Maybe he's talking about you. Could you recall that conversation in the first part? Maybe sometime later. Looking ahead to the future for you. Interlude. Part 2. Harry. Harry's this guy. Your clever way of approaching this issue doesn't carry any weight because most people believe as I do. They couldn't all be wrong and you be right. You have to accept the theory of relativity, don't you? Well, everything's relative and that's that. In every culture, in every period of history, people have defined things their own way. I was thinking about last time in chat, our friend, a chatter came in and said, what do you think about relativity versus truth? I tried to ask him questions to get him to talk about why he was asking. Because notice, you, what do you think? Personal. Why was he scared to talk about what he thinks? Or what is the truth? So, requires some courage and character to be in this game. You have to accept it. And by the way, very common, right? Well, if everyone accepts it, then it must be true. Yeah, everyone accepted that women couldn't have a credit card 50 years ago, or couldn't leave an abusive husband, or couldn't vote. That people who happened to have black skin were 2/3 of a man if they lived in America. That bullfighting was okay. Right? Anyway. I digress. They couldn't all be wrong. You have to accept the theory of relativity, don't you? Well, everything's relative, and that's that. In every culture and in every period of history, people have defined things their own way. Everyone interprets everything. Except for, I can recall all kinds of teachers, professors, and so forth. And they all agree on one thing. The most accepted theory is nothing other than this. Whatever is believed to be true is true as long as it is supported by believers. So, we have been saying that we are exploring the most common belief of our age. Here is Harry confirming it. Whatever is believed to be true is true, so long as it's supported by believers. And what is believed? Merely another interpretation. So, who are you to think you are right over all of them? Okay, so credit that he recognizes that belief functions through interpretation, projecting what isn't there and blind from what is. And of course, this is one thing used by believers. Who are you to think? And that's why I was thinking, that's what I was thinking about with our friend in chat yesterday. What do you think? Are you good enough? Can you do relativity? Who are you to say? No, what is to say? And my questions were to encourage him to talk about A, what he cares about, so he has some stake in the game. Otherwise, like Harry, out the door. And once he has some personal stake, we can ask him questions to develop understanding, rather than personal attacks and criticism. Why? Because it's easy. Attacking people means you don't need anything. The biggest idiot can listen to the greatest scientist and say, no. Well, I disagree. Like that meme. Prove me wrong. Contrarian. That's the appeal for trolls. Just say no to everything. And you can pretend you're as smart as the person who actually understands it. Who are you to think you are right over all of them? Now, we also see this idea. Truth is whatever's popular. So we watch these news programs. Wow, 79% of voters don't support the war in Iran. Who gives a fuck? It's bad. Don't do it. I mean, it is telling that the supposed elected officials don't care about the people they are supposed to represent. That's one thing. That's a problem. But whether or not something is popular, does that make it true? So who are you to think, says Harry. Who are you? You. Fucking big guy with your straw hat. Get out of here with your straw hat, he says. Joseph says, you certainly came out swinging on that one, Harry. And while there is something in what you say, I think is true, there are other parts I'm not sure of. That I think is true. Really? What? I'm not sure about all this business of Hey, he caught what I caught. I'm not sure about all this business of interpreting. When you or anyone else reads or hears something, do you always interpret it? I mean, if you know what the words mean, do you still find yourself interpreting them? Ah. Of course. All of it or some parts of it? What else? All of it. But if you change all of it, how can you say you are reading? Isn't there something there that remains what it is, and you just add something to it? Now, I'm laughing because of that example of the American college student who was asked some question about psychology and completely ignored everything of the question and everything of the material and just started talking about how she hates gay people because of her parents and religious preachers tell her. And she failed, but Fox News, the conservatives who like to get people interested in defending beliefs to distract from the Epstein class tyranny and injustice, they put her on Fox News. See, the woke liberals don't allow for religious beliefs. So that was an example of complete interpretation. She didn't even read the question or the material, just started. By the way, where did she learn that from? Do preachers, pastors, imams, rabbis read the shit, or do they just speculate off the top of their head? Which is why the dumbest people talked about playing music this afternoon. You'll find the dumbest people in the street confident in nothing. You're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. So, usually people have some reference to whatever it is they're reading. Those would be fringe cases, of course. So, surely there's something that remains, Harry says. Certainly you don't change it all. Wait a minute. Just what are you driving at? I am wondering if the condition of the material before you... I'm wondering about the condition of the material before you interpret it. Is it faulty? And do you have to save it with your interpretation? Surely if it were perfect, just as it is, you wouldn't need to interpret it, would you? And of course, that's why we read these books that we read. Pierre Grimes, the Balboa translations of Socrates, and the Balboa translations of Homer. As far as I've seen, Complete words. No need to interpret. Which is great for us, because if we do find ourselves interpreting, we get clues about our pathologos beliefs that are causing the interpretation that we can learn about. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
Yes.
Funny and cool? Hey, leave some for the rest of us, man.
I will not. It's simple, says Harry. Nothing to wonder about. Notice? One of the things that we've seen is, hey, giving rise to new questions is a good thing. That's what we write on the board, right? One of the last things we wrote. We give rise to understanding, insights, the art of the logos, and questions. Believers want to silence questions. They've learnt early in childhood from the way that we allow children to be raised, stuck in a box with people, with a couple of people who can do whatever because it's their belief. They learn the danger of asking questions and being curious. We are replacing that. So our friend in chat yesterday was trying to encourage him to get curious about. So what are you actually curious about? Are you just trying to be a knower? Are you trying to be a troll? Why? Why is that appealing to you? Get curious about something. Whereas believers don't like that. Nothing to wonder about. As things change and progress happens, we evolve. So the way you formerly saw these changes, and so the way you formerly saw these, so the way that you formerly saw things changes, and you gain a new perspective. The old goes and the new stays. You either throw out the old parts of your culture and traditions that don't fit with it. Sorry, reading today. You either throw out the older parts of your culture and traditions that don't fit with what you know, or you save them with a new interpretation. That's the way you keep your traditions alive. And when you add to it the new stuff you've discovered, you keep a synthesis between the old and the new. And those who have gone through the Jesus and Socrates Dialogue in Heaven book, you can recognize these as one of the classes of interpretation. There are 5 classes of interpretation. One is trying to save the old and new by unifying them together. Save the old by unifying them with the new. That's the main point of philosophy. Everyone does it for the same reason. By the way, I think they call that Hegelian dialectic, some of the academic philosophers. Just unify the old and the new. That's one way of being ignorant. That's the main point of philosophy. Everyone does it for the same reason. I could add a noble list of philosophers that play this game. I've studied them at UCB. Hey, there we go. I've predicted the future. I've studied them at UCSB. And they go from Frederick, Ast, Dilthey, Schleiermacher to Heidegger. Heidegger. I blew it. Heidegger. Come to think of it, I haven't really thought of them for some time. Actually, this is the first time I've had cause to use them. Oh, interesting how academic philosophy treats learning to save interpretation. And how do they treat these experts? Well, they use them to justify this idea of saving belief through interpretation, and that's it. That's the entire point of academic philosophy. Getting a bunch of big names to justify whatever it is you want to justify. Heidegger says this, Kant says this, Dilthey says this. Have you ever thought about those people before? No. Ever again? No. Who gives a shit what Heidegger thinks? Was he a great man? Did he achieve great things? Or is it someone who wrote a book that agrees with what you agree with? So, do they ever have a reason to quote these people? Whereas the dialectic you can use at all times. Literally, every moment you're either following the logos or your pathologos beliefs. You can model Socrates at all times, or Joseph, or your dream maker. You have dreams every night. You have random thoughts every moment, or often. It's the difference between real philosophy, which impacts you every single moment and models the ideal that we seek in Socrates, in the Dialectic, and academic philosophy, which is, as Socrates calls it, philodoxia, love of opinions. So, the first time he's ever had to use what he learned at college, interesting. First time he's haven't even thought of them since college. So there you go. Makes you wonder about what we are doing compared to mainstream education. Joseph. Thanks. That is very helpful. But would it be fair for me to conclude that they add to or subtract some from the original work? And at the same time, must they not ignore or drop other parts out of their interpretation? So as we learn these people, stuff is added, and stuff that they did say we ignore. Like whatever crazy religious shit that these people talk about, let's forget about that. Very common in these people, by the way. Harry, that's a little simplistic. What is it? Adding to or supplementing, and ignoring or dropping interpretation. The functioning of belief. That's a little simplistic, but I guess it boils down to that. Joseph. Then, in that way, does it gain significance that it didn't have before? Or is it that it wasn't seen before and they bring it to light? You could say they do both. So by adding stuff, it gains a significance it didn't really have. Or it wasn't complete and they feel they need to fix it up by bringing to light what was hidden by adding their own interpretation. You could say they do both, Joseph. And what is the reason for all this adding and subtracting to the work? What do you think is the reason? What's the reason for this process going on and on? Certainly at some point, with all the changes, it becomes a new work, doesn't it? Well, the old stuff could be outdated, in error, or for some reason objectionable. So it's interpreted. The name of the game is hermeneutics. Fancy word. Hermeneutics. Hermeneutics means a method or theory of or principle of interpretation. Derived from the ancient Greek named after Hermes. No. Hermes for us represents the dialectic, the opposite of interpretation. Hermeneutics is using interpretation or lying or being blind, especially in the interpretation of biblical text, wisdom literature, and philosophical texts. So that's what Harry wants to do. Academic stuff. Look here. Don't you grasp the point that religion and history fill a gap in our lives? This is what I was railing against last time. People are too stupid to actually improve their lives. Just give them fake meaning in stories. And I said, hey, if you're going to make stories, make them true stories. And don't patronize people by saying that their life existence is meaningless. That they're not also here to understand and remove beliefs and perfect their understanding to know the self. Doesn't it fill a gap in our lives? No, it's not just a gap. It's more than that because they cover a mystery, and that mystery happens to be us. Interpreting helps make it possible to look at the past and face the future. Maybe you can take looking at the past, but for me, it's blood-soaked. Every single damn era has its own madness. Hegel said it right when he said that the blank pages of history are periods of human happiness, because that was when nothing really was happening in history. What? You like sloshing... What the hell does that mean? Oh, to Hegel, what only matters for him, I guess, is war. You like sloshing through the corruption of even the best periods of time. Go ahead and find the Kennedys' Achilles heel. Dredge up the muck on Reagan, or the sins of the popes and such stuff. But most of us don't object when someone glorifies the past. Oh yeah, this is a very fascist mindset or conservative mindset. Don't say bad things about Reagan. Don't say bad things about presidents. So the truth is out. History puts the smile on the monstrous record of man's deeds. Come on, Harry. What's more absurd than that? Philosophy or history? Do you know what you like? Cosmetics. It's a death mask, right? This way believers try and lie about the past through interpretation to pretend it's not a war on mind fought by beliefs against Dianoia and the Dialectic, against our purpose, in order to save beliefs. Death mask. What we, at the time of recording, they call this death cults. Joe Rogan's death cult, the Trump death cult, religion's death cults. It's all death cults. Or a death mask. Put a smile on the problems that cause death and destruction. Sure, death has the last word, says Harry. Maybe it's all over when it's over. Maybe we all, every one of us, have to face a hell. Or the nothingness of pure emptiness. Maybe we are an evolutionary mistake and death will end it all. Well, I'll tell you what you know as well as I do. I'll tell you what you know as well as I do. Religion offers hope. Hope is another way of saying silence understanding. Hey, I'll provide healthcare, says Trump. Based on what? Just have hope. No. Clearly defined, objective, rational steps leading to a demonstrable, provable goal. Like everything else in the world, you idiot. No, but people are too stupid to deal with facts and reason. Bullshit. We deal with facts and reason every day. It's only in the realm of politics, religion, and capitalism that we pretend that people are too stupid, so they have to be enslaved by a CEO. Elon Musk is so much smarter and better. He needs all the money. Otherwise, you wouldn't do anything and society would collapse. Same thing with religion. You need hope. You can't actually understand the meaning of life, so we'll lie to you and exploit you. Because you're too stupid to learn philosophy, dialectic. All right, enough ranting from me. Let's keep reading. It's fucking hope bullshit. Religion offers hope. And even, I have to highlight it, even though I don't want to. And even the possibility of hell at least offers continued existence. Without history and religion, we would have to confront our fundamental paradox. Because just why is there all this suffering and death? Notice, that was impetus for the question that we gave birth to. Why evolve only to return? So our approach was curiosity, wonder, use of understanding, use of analogy, to create a hypothesis and a deeper question. His is silence, accept lies and the cause of all human injustice, instead of developing questions. Justification for belief. To face up to it, to this weird existence of ours, and to really try to think about it, would drive anyone bonkers. Are we being driven bonkers, or is this the only place where we find sanity? As for me, I mean, not the only place, but there are a few places that people are actually engaging in reason and understanding about what's most meaningful in a way that can actually help ourselves individually and collectively. And it's just people who have a good heart and good head, people who love understanding. Heart and head. It's the absence of a philodianoia, lovers of understanding, that drives me bonkers. And I think everyone, really. Even if the most ignorant, belief-based people are the loudest. There's a lot of people out there who are waking up to the love of understanding and the terror of belief. No one can think it through, says this guy. You've got to make some interpretation of it to adapt it to meet your own needs. Who cares if everyone interprets? Because whatever you can believe will do for you. Listen, Joseph, I'll tell you something. There isn't enough rationality to solve any human problem, much less the problem of existence. If no one has figured it out before us, who cares? The fuck, does he know everyone? Maybe you should tune into this podcast. No one knows what happens when you die. No one knows what the meaning of life is. Bullshit. You just haven't paid attention. Or you fought against the best people. This guy's literally been in a demonstration. Everything we did to come to an understanding of our purpose and our problems, both individually and collectively, is from a conversation he was just in or watching. Isn't that wild? That believers will say, no one knows, and who are you to say you know better than everyone else? Because we're listening, we're reading. Anyway, I'm getting triggered. I'm not getting triggered. I have heard this so many times. No one has figured it out before us, so who cares? Just get an interpretation that fits you for today. Tomorrow, let those that come after us fix it for themselves. The fixers of today call what they do hermeneutics, and tomorrow they'll throw that out and use another term. So what? If it helps us get through today, that's the real role interpretation plays. You got it? Joseph responds. But what if there are works that don't have to be interpreted time and time again? Why not get rid of the stuff that every generation has to find new reasons for believing, like what we're reading now? What's so wrong with finding new reasons for keeping alive old beliefs? Are they only believed until their weakness becomes so embarrassing that they can no longer be believed? Like all the work the Christians are doing to save all the wild shit about genocide and treating women like cattle and murdering babies. Is it getting a bit embarrassing? That they can no longer be believed? So new ones are offered? Is it like a leaky ship that has a crew that has to keep repairing, because no sooner do they patch up one hole than they find another leak somewhere else? and what doesn't need patching up. But why not just study whatever interests you without having to keep patching them up? Curiosity and seeking truth. What difference does it make if one admits that there are weaknesses in this or that system? Why expend all that effort when you know that the ship was poorly designed to begin with? Is it because it's the only ship you've heard about? Which is what we're saying. No one knows the meaning of life. Bullshit, you just haven't heard. You haven't read Socrates or Pierre Grimes or Homer. Or tuned into any of these episodes. Who are you to say? Not who, what? You just haven't heard about it. Or you haven't been listening. Well, if it promises a lot, save it. But look here, suppose for a moment that these promises are the problem. Every system makes promises, you know that. Just mention one that doesn't need saving. Certainly philosophy is one big saving game. All it does is find bad reasons for believing something you wish could be true. Go strike up the band and play the music. March into history and fulfill your moment of destiny. Believe in God and country and your duty to play out your duty. To play out your assigned historical role as you march under this or that banner. Every institution needs saving, or interpreting if you like, because quite frankly, there isn't enough rationality in the whole universe to ensure rationality in anything that has the scope of religion, politics, science, and the state. Maybe in heaven there is enough to go around, but not here. Man is a contradiction because nature hasn't been able to perfect man. We are an unfinished species. So what do? We interpret to make the moment more palatable. So, he's really laying out the position of belief. March into war, kill who you're told to kill under the banner of America or Israel or whoever the fuck, of religion or politics, and hey, they make all these promises of eternal life and Jesus coming back, so yeah, save it. Even if it gets too embarrassing. And Joseph is giving the other position, hey, why not read something intelligible like we do here? Why not actually use your mind to solve problems rather than spend the energy and time and effort of your mind to save bullshit you learned in childhood? Is it that we can't understand the nature of human problems and human excellence? Or you've been spending your whole time fighting against understanding and dialectic to save the beliefs that you grew up with? So, Harry is giving a fantastic demonstration of the case given to save beliefs. Which comes down to, well, if I don't know it, no one does. If I haven't heard it, it doesn't exist. And by the way, where do beliefs come from? Authority figures. What kind of religious authority figure would teach understanding? Would undermine their own power to manipulate? Yeah, no shit, you haven't been taught real philosophy. They don't even teach us as he said, at his college, they don't teach real philosophy. They teach opinions. They don't do what we're doing. What use is that? You quote a name whenever you want to justify whatever you already think. It's not about getting rid of what you think, it's about patching up what you think with this interpretation and quoting big names in books. Philodoxia, the opposite of philosophy, which is a difficulty that we have in this channel. People hear philosophy and they think academic philosophy, which is the opposite of philosophy, which is Harry. Harry is an academic philosopher, quoting all these names to justify his beliefs in order to justify saving beliefs. Why? Because we can't know what happens when we die. Bullshit. That's the whole point of separating yourself from your physical senses through the dialectic. That's the spiritual experience, experiencing death. But it's not the end. It's the beginning. Literally, the beginning of the stages of enlightenment. No one can understand the nature of human problems. It's all just a big irrational mess. Bullshit, look. It's written. It's written in green and blue and orange and yellow and purple. He would say, but who are you to make such a table, a truth table? Not who, what? If it's true for everyone. Who, or beliefs or interpretation, is the realm of belief in the bad side of the table. What is the realm of the true, the good, and the one, or the unified? The logos, the role of the dialectician, our purpose, Philodainoia. So isn't it fascinating that Harry is giving a brilliant demonstration of the reasoning behind believers' saving belief, while it contradicts the very conversation he's in. So here he's saying, how can we do something with that interpretation? Your girlfriend was just in that conversation. How can we understand our purpose? Your girlfriend just demonstrated it, and instead of listening to her, you tried to fight her. Because that's the role of belief, the war on mind. That's the nature of prejudice. It's not that no one knows these things, it's just that you fight against them, which is the nature of the human problem. We fight against our own desired good, our own seeking of truth, and the thing that we all want to understand as a oneness. So, Harry giving a fantastic demonstration of the position of it's all relative, or any belief, bringing in the case to keep religion. It gives hope to the stupid, which is very patronizing and wrong, further feeding into the false image of the self being incapable. So he's bringing religion, he's bringing in academic philosophy, hermeneutics, bringing in patriotism. So again, the realms where belief flourish. We've been talking about politics and religion. So marching under the banner to kill people in inhumane, disgusting ways, causing the pages of human history to be soaked in blood. He's also saying, you know where else belief prevails? Modern philosophy, academic philosophy. We call it hermeneutics. So we haven't been explicitly mentioning when we say the causes of societal problems, or those that venerate belief instead of doing their fucking job and removing belief to develop understanding, actual expertise that you can actually use to benefit. We've been talking about conservatism, clergy, and capitalists, and maybe we should talk about academics. We have been referring to them as philodoxia because that's what Socrates has called them many, many times in many, many books, including one we just read, Jesus and Socrates, A Dialogue in Heaven, which is love of beliefs. So Harry demonstrating the position for ignorance very, very well. We today began by demonstrating the way of being of truth, Philodainoia, the path to wisdom and beyond. Philosophy, love of wisdom. Philophronesis, love of even beyond the self. So our question is, how does a dialectician, how does Joseph relate to someone ruled by belief and prejudice, fighting against truth and his own purpose, to invite him into to be ruled by the self-logos, the dialectic, and the love of understanding? How many people have you heard talk like Harry? How many people have you met that talk like Joseph? How many people have you come across that speak like Joseph, but you didn't recognize and didn't pay attention to because you hadn't recognized that you had been being ruled by prejudice? Because you've been prejudiced against them and you were interpreting what they were saying to fit your own beliefs rather than listening to them. So, think about that until next time. How often would it be? How great would it be to be able to relate to these people in a providential or intelligent and caring way? Because that's what we're going to be looking for next time. How does Joseph relate to this person? Hey, and that's just someone who's ignorant. What about you? How fun was it to review the different kinds of dialectics that we've been learning within the Megatron, that's a bad guy. Voltron, within the Voltron of, so a dialectic made up of dialectics. How fun was that? Did you have any insights? Did you develop any theories? Did you give birth to any questions that you can carry along with you in every moment? How fun was it to find a way of understanding your dreams and to see the significance of reflecting on even your dream maker as you reflect on your dreams by applying the dialectic to it to read it without interpretation? How meaningful was it to get to end up with, after our 3 episodes of work, fun, play, reflection, that truth table? Is that meaningful? Are you going to make it into a bumper sticker and put it on your truck? Or put it on the fridge? And how are your dreams going to be tonight, I wonder? And I wonder if your dreams will give you any messages about those positive things that we saw about truth and those negative things that Harry has been demonstrating. And I wonder if your dreams might indicate something that connects some aspect of what Harry is demonstrating to something that you have, or have been influenced by, or you have yet to see. Could your dream maker be your best guide along this journey of reading? That's a theory. We have to test it. So, I hope you're having fun, I hope you're curious, and I hope you are interested in what your dreams might say about these things. And I hope next time we see how Josh relates to Harry too. See you then. Joseph. His name's Joseph. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.